The fifth verb type is the ditransitive consider verbs. So these are verbs that take a specific frame where the meaning is something like X considers Y, and then there's like this hidden to be, and then there's some variable afterwards. So X considers Y to be Z. So I consider him a funny dude. Steve made his boss very uncomfortable. So with these consider verbs, we have the subject and direct object, but we also have this thing called an object complement, which we abbreviate as OC. So it doesn't matter what form it takes, but what this does is this forms an equal relationship between the direct object and the description. When you say I consider him a funny dude, what you're really saying there is he is a funny dude. Or Steve made his boss very uncomfortable. What you're really saying is that his boss is very uncomfortable. You can kind of like sneak in like a little is in between and make a little mini sentence. So that's the new function we have here and the new type of verb. So typically at this point, all we're going to see are noun phrases and adjective phrase object complements. Other object complements get a little bit more complicated and would be covered in the more advanced course, the next course in this series that is being made on TrevTutor. So here are some examples of how these look in trees. So I consider him a funny dude. So we have our consider verb, VC. We have the direct object that we're considering, and then we have the link that we're making. So it's I'm considering him something, and him equals a funny dude. Or in the case of made him uncomfortable, that's a little bit smaller, but we can get the same thing there. Made is the verb. It's acting on him, the direct object, and then it's being equal to the object complement. So him equals uncomfortable. So we see these as sisters in trees. And that's what we've got for consider verbs. So they're going to take this form, X considers Y, to be Z. All right, the last type of verb is a ditransitive give verb. And this has two frames. So there's one that's like X gives or has a meaning where you say X gives Y, Z. So I gave someone something. So what we have in this case is we have a subject, so I. We have the verb, the giving verb, gave. We have the indirect object. So this is called the IO. And you can think of this as the beneficiary. So it's the person receiving or the person for whose benefit the direct object's going. And then we're going to have our direct object. So this is the thing being given. So this is the literal thing that's going. So we have a giver, we have a givee, and then we have the thing that is being given. So subject, indirect object, and direct object. So normally we'll see a lot of noun phrases here. In fact, in this frame, we're pretty much only going to see noun phrases. But there is another frame that we have. So it's not always just X gives Y, Z, but it could be X gives Z to Y. So we might have this phrase. So I gave a big tip to the server. Jane bought some new shoes for her boyfriend. And the tip to distinguish between the DO and IO here is that, so really this should be prep IO and an NP object of a preposition. But how we can tell here is that you'll see the preposition to or for, to the server, for her boyfriend, to Ryan. We get this beneficiary or motion meaning here. So in this case, we have a direct object, a big tip or some nice shoes, and then we have the to phrase, the indirect object to the server, to her boyfriend, for her boyfriend, to Ryan. So what do these two forms look like? Well, we have form 1 on the left and form 2 on the right. Actually, switch that around, form 2 on the left, form 1 on the right. So here we have gave, our give verb. It is giving something, so direct object, and it is giving it to someone. So we have the prepositional phrase indirect object there. That's one form, a VG-NP-PP, or we can do the VG-NP-NP. So this is when you have the give verb, then you have the indirect object coming next with no preposition, and then you have the direct object. So if you ever want to see if you have a ditransitive give verb, what you can do is you can try to change between these two forms. Most ditransitive give verbs can swap between these two forms. All right, So to summarize the verb section, let's draw some trees. Pause it yourself, see if you can do it, and then I'm going to create some new pages and then draw these trees for you. So let's do. Marcus calls his wife beautiful every day. Let's start with this one. So a little ugly at the bottom being stretched out, but that's okay. We're just going to draw the verb phrase. So we need to figure out what's happening here. So we have his wife. I'm just going to label some words. I'm not going to label the verb yet, but this is a possessive determiner. This is a noun, so this is going to be a noun phrase. Beautiful is an adjective that is going to be built into an adjective phrase. Every day, the quantifier with a noun that is going to be built up into a noun phrase. And that quantifier is a modifier. Okay, so Marcus calls his wife beautiful every day. What I'm seeing here is that we're really saying his wife equals beautiful. So because of that, I'm led to believe that this is a consider verb. So Marcus considers his wife beautiful every day. So this is going to go into a VP, which means that this NP is going to end up being a direct object. This adjective phrase is going to be a predicate adjective. And then this noun phrase every day, well, this is just extra information, so this is going to be an adverbial. So that is the tree from Marcus calls his wife beautiful every day. Let's see if we can do the tree for number 2. I received flowers from John. Okay, so we have the flowers. Okay, we'll just do the same thing we did before. I don't know what received is yet, but I know that the is going to be a definite determiner. Flowers is going to be a noun, and these will create an NP. I have John, which is a proper name noun phrase, and this is going to be the object of a preposition from to make a prepositional phrase. So I received the flowers from John. I received something. Okay, so I received X. So this leads me to believe that this is now a transitive verb. So I received the flowers from John. So this is a VT, and this will build up into a VP, and these things are modifying the verb. So the flowers are the things being received. This is a direct object, and the prepositional phrase here is acting as an adverbial. It's giving more information. Where did you receive them from? You might think this is just like a give verb because it is something going from somewhere to someone, but we can't do that rephrasing. So I received John the flowers. Doesn't quite work out. That's number 2. Let's now do number 3. I sent my figurine to a dealer. You can probably guess what type of sentence this one is going to be. So let's just stretch out this sentence at the bottom. All right, sent is going to be something. My is a possessive determiner. Figurine is N. To is a preposition. Is an indefinite determiner. And dealer is a noun. So a dealer is a noun phrase, which is going to be the object of the preposition for a dealer. Okay. I sent my figurine to a dealer. So my figurine is going to be a noun phrase, and then sending is going to create its own verb phrase. So it's sending something to someone. X sends Y to Z. So this is a VG verb. Going to connect with the VP. This means we have a direct object being sent, and we have an indirect object, so the person receiving it. Okay, so those are the 3 trees. Hopefully you're able to get a little bit of progress. Okay, the last thing to talk about is variation between transitive verbs and ditransitive give verbs. So if we do not have an indirect object, a recipient, then some of these give verbs can also just be transitive. So a verb like sent, you can say he sent X, so he sent a letter, or you can specify the recipient too. He sent a letter to his friend, or he sent his friend a letter. So if the indirect object is present, we have a ditransitive give verb, a VG. If it's not present, we just have a transitive verb. So the other example is Ron's mistress bought a ring. So this is transitive case, or bought a ring for herself, or bought herself a ring. So this now we have the indirect object coming back into play. So With that being said, we now have a structure for our sentence. So we had some issues with these parts right here, figuring out categories and functions. So deemed him worthy of my attention. You're deeming someone, so that someone is the direct object, and we're saying that him equals worthy of my attention. So it's like an equals relationship. So that's an object complement, and we have a C verb, a consider verb. So just to make sure that we've understood this, let's try to identify the verb types and complements in these sentences. You can pause the videos, and I'll go through the solutions now. So I ran a store with my grandmother. So with my grandmother is going to be some optional information. It's going to be an adverbial, but a store is a direct object, which means that ran here is going to be VT. That's what you're running. You're running a store. It's hard to believe that this week is John's birthday. Is going to be a be verb here, and John's birthday is going to be a noun phrase. We're talking about a birthday, and this is a predicate noun. Okay, promotions will start shortly after this weekend. So shortly is an adverbial. After this weekend is an adverbial. So we just have an intransitive verb here. We just have will start. Now, in terms of I spanked him silly because he was being bad. What are we doing here? Well, we know we're spanking someone, and spanking in this case is more non-literal. It's just like becoming. So what we have here is we have a noun phrase direct object him, but we also have an adjective phrase silly that is acting as an object complement because we have like I turned him silly. So this is a VC verb. Don't go there, please. So there is going to be an adverb. So this is going to be an adverbial in this case, which means that go is just going to be an intransitive verb. Okay, Jeffrey always delivered nice emails to his professors. So we have nice emails to his professors. This is a recipient, so this is a prepositional phrase, indirect object. Nice emails is the thing being sent. So this is a noun phrase, direct object, which means that delivered is going to be a VG verb, just like give. And that's it. That's the basics of English grammar. Hopefully you're able to do these, and I wish you success labeling some sentences on your own in the future.